of my best work has taken me weeks or months. Some of my best work has taken me literally years. And some of my now most successful and favourite creations literally almost drained me of all of my joy and passion before they were completed. Today you join me not in the studio, welcome to nature, but hopefully the location and the plot of my future studio, all being well. I had made a quiet promise to myself that I would film outside, rain or shine today, and we seem to have got the rain version of that. However, somewhere in my romantic brain, it felt appropriate to film outside. I guess some sort of prophetic fallacy, but also because I feel like nature is the perfect metaphor for what I've been thinking about this week. And somewhere in that is that, nature moves slowly, so perhaps so should we. And also nature takes its time. It doesn't just happen overnight. And perhaps there's something we can learn from that. So last week I launched an artwork in a museum exhibition, which I'm very excited about, but we'll circle back to this later. However, the experience did get me thinking about that age-old question of how long does it really take to make great artwork? And for the context of this conversation, I don't mean great in a worldly sense, but I mean something that felt successful to you, that emotionally, technically, spiritually stimulated something in you that felt resonant, that felt important, that felt powerful, that brought you truth, that brought you joy, that moved you forward in your art practice. Perhaps I was erring on the side of optimism with the rain. You can certainly have 4 different types of weather in the UK at any given moment within a 5-minute period. So my romantic side has retreated indoors with Granger for now. But going back to what stimulated this whole idea in my head was I found out a few weeks ago that my artwork, The Poet's Wife, had been accepted and shortlisted into the Self-Portrait Prize 2025 and would be exhibited in the Russell Coates Museum in Bournemouth. And I was obviously absolutely ecstatic. And last week I got to go to the private view of the exhibition along with the other, I think it was about 32 artists who had been shortlisted for the museum exhibition, and then there was a longer list that was part of an online exhibition. And I think when I have a finished artwork, I actually become quite detached from the artwork, especially the longer the time period goes on. I seem to kind of forget all of the struggles and strains that happened around the creation of the artwork. And it made me realize that that specific piece of work, which recently has been coming up a lot, has been accepted into different contemporary programs and has won some prizes, actually at the time, I actually remade the work 4 times because I wasn't completely content with it. The backstory of the artwork has amazing resonance for me because I had the opportunity to visit a beautiful historic house called Board Hill, and the owner gave me the opportunity with the head gardener to take some of the roses from their special rose garden, which was actually created over hundreds of years through different seeds being sent all across the world, through lots of letters being written. And the specific rose I was interested in was called The Poet's Wife, and there was a lot of metaphors that I kind of was interested in building into the work, building into this narrative. But the pressure I had was I had this select cut section of roses to build into the sculpture that I imagined for the portrait, and it just kept going wrong. And in the time since I made the artwork, I'd forgotten this struggle that I went through at the time, and now seeing it, resonating with people and in an exhibition and in different collections, I'd forgot that actually this was something that didn't just happen. This was something that at the time was quite a struggle, was quite a process. And it really got me thinking about how today, I don't think everyone is completely honest with how long things are taking. I think we live definitely in a shortcut society, and especially on social media, people are outputting very quickly, but actually some of these things don't just happen. And I wanted to kind of use The Poet's Wife as a springboard into the conversation, but I think I actually have a better life example from my career which really illustrates this. Now, I'm certainly not saying that you can't make a fantastic piece of artwork within a short space of time, but I think that what we forget is all of the time that it's taken to get to that place to be able to make a piece of artwork within a short space of time. It's taken all of the materials that we have accumulated. It's taken the years of practice and research and study. It's taken the equipment we have. It's taken the knowledge we have. It's taken all of the failures, all of the successes, and everything in between to get us to that point where we then have an understanding with the extension of our materials, the extension of our imagination. I think I have so many real life examples of this, but the one that really felt very potent to me and sticks out to me is last year I did a very large scale public art installation for Battersea Power Station called Field of Dreams. This is a 20 metre by 7 metre suspended installation that was hung in Turbine Hall A, and for me this is one of the pieces of work that I am most proud of in my career for a number of different reasons. But one of the reasons that it most resonates with me is the project on the surface took 4 months from start to completion, and actually I probably would have loved a little bit longer than that, but when you're working in that kind of arena, sometimes you do have very strict time limits. But the actual reality of the situation is that artwork took 10 years. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that when I was studying fine art at Goldsmiths, my work was primarily sculpture and installation. Now, if you know my work, you know the public art projects and you know my self-portraiture. So to someone who knows my self-portraiture, to see me doing a large-scale suspended public art installation, it may seem to them that this has happened very quickly, this has just happened overnight. But the reality is that 10 years prior to this, I was making suspended, hanging installations for my degree show. I actually made a piece called False Lights, and at the time I had little to no budget. I just had a determination and a will to make this thing happen. Like when I started working on Field of Dreams for Battersea, I made maquettes out of paper and wire and hot glue guns and just kind of put the idea together. But this is what I was doing 10, 11, 12 years ago prior to having this opportunity. So really, this was something that was, a whole decade in the making. And for me, that moment where I was able to work on this commission for Battersea felt very full circle, felt very poetic, because to me, this was something that had lived inside me for so long and had been seen on a very small scale for my degree show, but now was something that was coming fully to life, that I was able to share with hundreds and thousands of people, and for it to have its moment to shine. So I wanted to tell you this for, I think, 2 main reasons. I really want this to be encouraging, but I think the first reason is that I am a firm believer of working on your craft, working on your skill, and I do think that special things take time. Even if the end result of the final thing that you end up making takes 5 hours or an hour, it has taken you hundreds of thousands of hours to get to that point where you can produce something that quickly. It has taken mistakes and determination and practice to get to that point. More importantly, if things still haven't landed, if you're still in that research phase, you are in the middle of the artwork, you're in the middle of that discovery phase. And I think it's important to realize that sometimes that can't be rushed. I actually think it really can't be rushed. It's really beautiful to let things evolve and happen in the way that they're meant to. I think discovery isn't something that is inorganic. I think these things happen and evolve as you practice, as you make mistakes, as you discover new things within your artwork. I think the second and most important thing to realize is that you don't need to rush. I think that these things have their own energy. If the work is unfinished, it's often because we're unfinished. We are so linked to the work that we make that it takes time for our own personal growth. And it's why I wanted to film outside today, because metaphorically, I always love to use nature within my work because there's such honesty to it. You know, you can tend to a seed all through the winter, and it isn't until a later period when it's ready that it starts to bloom and grow. And even then, for a tree, for example, it's still only a sapling that needs to be tended to and protected until it's strong enough and its roots are strong enough to grow and flourish on its own. And I kind of hope that you take from this that you are that tender growing shoot, and all of these different branches of your practice and all of the individual works that you make are contributing to your strength and your growth and your evolution as an artist. As a final note, I would say that thinking is allowed, thinking space is allowed, and time to resonate on things is incredibly important for us to have understanding of what's working and what's not. So allow yourself that reflection time, allow yourself to be slow and get rained on in nature, like nature, and have fun with it. I am just about to embark on actually creating some new work myself, which I've felt hesitant towards as since I've moved studio and everything's in transition, it has made the whole process a lot more complicated. But excuses aside, new work is on its way. So hopefully in next Thursday's video, I'll be able to show you actually some behind the scenes of the process and what goes on behind the scenes, behind closed doors when I'm in full workflow and full character. But as ever, if this was resonant for you, please save it and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you have any questions about The Poet's Wife or about Field of Dreams or about what I was kind of hopefully touching upon today, do leave them in the comments. But it was really great to see you again on a Thursday, though I now know that some of you watch this on a Sunday, but that's great. I will see you next Thursday. Thank you for being here. Bye. And here comes Granger. Hello. Hello. Do you want to be in the video? Now let me scoop you. Ooh, left-handed scoop. Hello. Hello.